Got a new podcast, another new podcast, including Running Smoke, and it's with Marcellus Wiley, and it's set to make its debut on the Dan Patrick Podcast Network. It's called More to It, including extended interviews across media, sports, and entertainment. I know Lil Wayne, I heard that episode. That was very revealing, very entertaining. Charles Barkley, Anthony Anderson, Deion Sanders, Snoop Dogg. Those are some of the scheduled guests with Dat Dude, Marcellus Wiley, the former defensive end with the Chargers, our good buddy. And here he is, Mr. Media. Good to have you on, buddy.
Thanks so much, Dan. How's it been, brother?
Everything's good. What do you have behind you? What are you in a...
What don't I have behind me? I think it's like every trophy I've had since Pop Warner, pictures of the family, my book. Just as my family office right here. So my whole memoirs, everything's here.
Explain your podcast, though. Why is this different?
Yeah, it's called More to It because with every success story, there's more to it than what you see on the surface. And if you think about it, I'm a big believer that failure is natural and success is sought and taught. So if you wake up and don't do anything, we know you're going to fail at everything. But these guys, whoever we're talking about, the athletes, the entertainers, the celebrities, the CEOs, influencers, they all have went down a path of success that was met with adversity and was met with resistance, and they still overcame all of those obstacles. And I think it's just something that can inspire us all, because sometimes you can get down on your luck and you can start throwing your own pity parties. But the difference between a champion and a contender is that the champion gets up one more time. And I'm trying to inspire all.
And you grew up in Compton?
Yes.
Okay. How do you get out of Compton and you go to an Ivy League school? Like, how do they find you?
I think the discovery process is like any other place, any other discovery. If you have enough talent, you make enough noise, they'll come find you no matter where you are. But my story, I grew up in Compton, born and raised, pre-NWA, before all the movies and all the music, before it got all of a sudden glorified as something that it wasn't. And then we moved to South Central. We actually thought we were moving to greener pastures, and it felt as bad, if not worse. But I was a guy who had a balance in that. I had an identity. I knew who I was. More importantly, I knew who I was not. I was not a gangster. I was not a drug dealer. I was not going to be distracted by the ills around me. I was going to be focused. And my two talents, frankly, were my academics. I was intrigued about the whole learning process. I was eager to learn. I was a nerd. And I was fast. I was a fast kid. I ran track. I set national records. I won national championships. And since I was fearless with that speed, I played football. And that's all I had on my tool belt, man. I didn't have a ton of resources, or even it felt like a ton of skills, but I focused on them and honed them.
Okay, but why not USC or something a little closer to home?
Yeah, I think the short of it is I saw too many of my friends, uber talented, 5 stars, better players than me, all return back to the neighborhood with some kind of sob story, some kind of, oh, I almost made it. Coach is tripping. Always something that got them a little short of what they wanted to attain. And I just frankly wanted a higher safety net. I knew I could play, but who knows if you're going to make it to the NFL? Who knows if you blow your knee up your senior year? Who knows if you pull your hamstring right before the combine and don't get that opportunity? So I wanted a higher safety net. And to me, that was my diploma. That was my education and the reputation of the school that I chose. So I looked at it as a simple formula. Pick the best academic school and go play ball. They found me in Compton. They found me in LA. They'll find me at Columbia.
Marcellus Wiley, former NFL defensive end, and the podcast is More to It. And you'll find that on the Dan Patrick Podcast Network. So every Wednesday that comes out. All right. As a former defensive end, you weren't a edge rusher back then. You were just a defensive end.
Yeah,
Give
right.
me what roughing the passer was back when you played.
Oh, night and day. Roughing the passer was not only intent, but consequence. So it wasn't just that you tried to hit him hard, but not only did you hit him hard, did you hit him late? You didn't even blur the lines of the rules. You went beyond the echo of the whistle, and that was roughing the passer back then. So I think it was pretty obvious in my day what roughing the passer looked like. Now it seems like we're blurring that line because it's not always done with the worst intention and certainly not with the worst consequence, but in protection of the quarterback that floats all boats. We know what this business is about. It's about that quarterback standing tall and standing protected. So we have competing interests. Everybody wants to still play the game like a gladiator sport and be physical out there, but you got to protect the profits. Everybody like cashing them checks. Well, you got to protect the cash and the checks that are being written, and those are the quarterbacks.
So how would you play now?
Oh, it's easy for me. I hate when these guys get out here like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know how to play in this game. Shut up. All right, this is how it went. They changed the target area maybe like a decade ago. And guy after guy complained, what am I supposed to do? I've been hitting people this way for decades. And they start fining them and fining them. And once they start fining them, those players start adjusting. We are uber talented. We see everything in micro frames. We can manipulate not only how we fall, but how you fall. So everyone adjusted. The same with this. All I tell guys is, look, you get a sack on your record, on your resume, whether you hit him hard or hit him soft, as long as he goes down, bruh. And the sacks is what you want because that's how you get the stacks. That's how you get your money. So who cares if you're going out there and make sure it's an exclamation point? Just get the dude on the ground so he can survive and we all get paid.
But what did Chris Jones do wrong in his sack?
What he did wrong is what his initial intent, and you got to watch it as I'm speaking through it to actually get this. But Chris Jones was coming in to try and lift him, to try and DDT him. You want to know why? Because his feet lifted off the ground. Now, when you're running, you have to have one foot on the ground in contact. You're running. Even if you're running through someone, you still have a foot on the ground. Chris Jones lifted his feet. You want to know why? Because he was trying to get him down with some intent, and it wasn't positive. But he got bailed out. I wouldn't have called roughing the passer on that one, but I see why they did it. He got bailed out because the ball came loose on the strip. Okay. And since the ball came loose, then all bets are off. Oh, I'm just landing on him because the ball is coming out underneath him. But before even the ball came out, Chris Jones was about to lift that dude and DDT him, and they saw that.
Quarterbacks, certain quarterbacks, preferential treatment?
Absolutely. Like on certain teams, no matter who you are, you're going to get that preferential treatment. It's the pecking order. It's the way it's supposed to be.
You don't have a problem with that Brady and Rodgers and Mahomes are going to get preferential treatment? Derek Carr hasn't earned that. Certain quarterback, Josh Allen's going to get preferential treatment. Justin Herbert probably. Joe Burrow. You're okay with that as a defensive player?
Yeah, I mean, that's the dynamics of the game. That's the dynamics of life. Look, Aaron Donald gets preferential treatment. He's a D tackle. If you're the man, they're going to show you love. It's just as simple as that. And I was a defensive end, and I got preferential treatment at the time. Look, if you're the man in your locker room, you just walk around, and your joke is not even funny, and they're laughing. But you're not the man. You could be Eddie Murphy up there, and nobody going to giggle. That's how the game works, and it's the same on the field. It's not just the quarterback. It's who you are and your impact, not only on the game, but on the bottom line. So, yeah, give them their love.
Yeah, and Micah Parsons has elevated himself into that. Like when you say who changes a game, like how many players truly change a game? Micah Parsons is on the short list. You could put Bosa in there, I guess. I don't know how many other Aaron Donald, you can put him in there. Yeah. Myles Garrett, I thought was going to be that guy, but then mostly it's quarterbacks as well. But I mean, where would you put Micah Parsons when it's MVP talk? Not defensive player of the year. I'm talking about MVP.
Yeah, he's certainly tier one. And you got to respect what he's doing because of how difficult it is. I mean, it's one of the most resistant paths in terms of making impact. Think about it. There's 5 guys in front of you. They're all 300 plus pounds and they can move. And a lot of times you get double teamed. And even when you are single team, you make that impact play. It's the timing of that play that really has impact as a defensive end. Quarterbacks are the ultimate because not only do they get the yards, but they get the points and they control the time of possession and they control the amount of possessions. I've seen quarterbacks, when they throw for 4 touchdowns plus, they're going to win 90-some% of those games. I've seen defensive ends, when they get 3-4 sacks, they still lose. They can still get spanked. So as much as I want to root with my bias as being a defender, we don't make the same impact on the game as those quarterbacks.
How has concussion protocol changed over the years?
Well, one, there was no protocol when I played. I swear.
So you didn't have to lie back then?
No. We didn't even have to lie because they didn't even ask the question to lie about. It's so crazy, Dan. Like, we used to call it getting your bell rung.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, concussion was left for outside of football, outside of sports. Like, concussion, what you mean? Like, if you got knocked out, that's knocked out. Other than that, it was just getting your bell rung. So now, listening to the guys in the protocol, obviously it was a good protocol, but it's not a perfect protocol because of the incentives. I'm not going to lie. If I were an active player right now, I would be incentivized to make sure I never lost time because of the concussion.
Yep.
And everyone's going to tell me, oh, no, your brain is different and you got to take care of yourself in life after football. But I'm not thinking that way. I have a finite amount of time to make this money, make these opportunities, and go out there and ball. So in situations when it's concussion protocol, I am not serving the doctors. I'm not serving the team. I am self-serving.
Yeah, there's reasons why they're always going to deceive because, like Dan Orlovsky, he said, if I was 24, I'm going to lie because I don't know if I get back in the game again. And then you're on the bench. He wasn't a marquee player. Here's Tua. And that's what I didn't understand. If your back seizes up like that, Marcellus, the eye test means there's something that really affected you. Maybe you didn't have a concussion. I got to sit you out. I got to figure out what happened. They just kept kind of pushing it off, going, hey, didn't have a concussion. Okay, but what did he have that would force him to almost feel like, he just got hit by Buster Douglas?
Yeah, but you sound so logical. And you're sitting there in that nice studio, in that air-conditioned studio, in a different emotional state than a player in that moment. I had my back seize up on me before, and immediately I wanted to continue to play. And immediately the doctor stepped in and said, hey, we have to go through the proper test to evaluate that. I'm not mad at Tua if he said it was my back and I want to go back out there and play. Why? Yeah. Because he knows he is a fringe starter. He's the guy who's been hanging on by tooth and nail and by a thread in that organization. For whatever reason, they don't fully believe in him. And he knows he can't step away, let somebody else get hot, and then lose his job.
Are the Rams in trouble?
Yeah, well, certainly they're in trouble. I mean, one, they have the Super Bowl championship fat and full going on where, okay, everyone rubbed their bellies. And not only did they get their belly rubbed, they're in Los Angeles getting their belly rubbed at SoFi Stadium. So I think that they're trying to get out of the bed with the silk robes on, like Marvin Hagler once said. And you can just see that they're just a little off course in terms of their eyes on the prize, the same appetite, the same hunger, going through all those little things. Plus, Matthew Stafford doesn't look fully healthy. I talked to him about a couple months ago, and he said, look, last year, I wasn't healthy the entire year. And I think even after the procedure, this year, he doesn't look fully healthy. Oh, yeah, they're in trouble.
Good to visit with you, and look forward to your podcast. It's called More to It, Marcellus Wiley, and available weekly on the Dan Patrick Podcast Network. Great to have you on board. Thank you, brother.
Oh, thank you so much, Dan. Take care, brother.
That's Marcellus Wiley. We go back a long way with Marcellus.
Right when he joined the, he went Bills, then Chargers. Right?
Yeah.
When he joined the Chargers, we started having him on.
Yeah, I remember Paulie going, hey, we should have this guy Marcellus Wiley on. And he goes, he went to Columbia.
And that's right. And Columbia football was, you remember how bad it was?
They were horrible.
He stood out.
Yes. Yeah.